Hello, my name is Yeji, otherwise known as ANdmadeco here on YouTube and on Instagram. Today I have a regular video of my finished objects as well as some works in progress to share with you. We'll first get started with what I'm currently wearing. I'm wearing Tulip by Melody Hoffman, and I started this in February of 2023, so 2 years ago now, and finished it in September. And we'll get into the reason of why it took me so long to finish it. But I did go up a needle size in this, so I knit a size 3, but I did use a 5.5 millimeter, which is a US 9 for the body, instead of the recommended US 8, which is a 5 millimeter needle. And so I think I got closer to around a size 4 instead of the size 3 that I knit. The reason I went up in a needle size is because I used Line Brand's Wool Ease, which I think is 10% wool and 90% acrylic, but it is a worsted weight yarn, and the pattern recommends a sport weight yarn or 3 lace weight yarns held together. And so my yarn was a true worsted weight, whereas the pattern recommends 2 strands of Newton yarn held with a lace weight silk mohair, or I guess an alpaca yarn. My finished garment probably came closer to a size 4 in its fit, and I'm really happy with how it fits. The reason why this sweater is named Tulip is because it is a plain top-down raglan, but then you have this tulip hem at the very bottom. And for the ribbing, I followed instructions and just used a US 6, which is a 4 millimeter needle. I really am happy with how this garment came out. Before I blocked this garment, I was not 100% sure about the fit, just because the hem does require 2 needle sizes down from your body, and I went 3 needle sizes down, so I just kept with the recommended 4 millimeter US 6 needle. But I'm really happy about how it turned out, and Lime Brand Wool Ease, although it is majority acrylic, has blocked out really well, and I'm really happy that I did block it. So the yarn that Melody Hoffman uses is, as I mentioned before, Newton, which is an unspun yarn like the Manchalopes that I have right here. And so that, in my experience, unspun yarn blooms really well, fills in all the gaps. I decided to go a completely different route into a worsted weight acrylic yarn, but I'm really happy with how this garment is actually wearing and how it feels on my skin. When I knit with it, it was really nice. It didn't feel plasticky at all. This yarn was a gift from my mother-in-law when she came to visit in 2023, as I said, and she brought multiple skeins of this, enough a sweater quantity from Canada, and so I'm really grateful for that. So the sweater is quite warm, and also a really nice thing about the sweater is that I don't have to be precious about it, and that I can wear it when I'm near my children, which is an extra nice point for me. So going back to why it took me so long to make this sweater, although I started in February when I was gifted the yarn in 2023, I took all the way to September because this was in a pile where I didn't want to think about it for a while, just because I messed up on the neckline somewhat and it was very stretched out and I wanted to bring it in. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really love the fit of this. It has really nice short rows, so the back is higher than the front. And overall, I'm very excited to have this garment, and I actually want to make another one. This garment goes from 35 inches to 55 inches. But it is a top-down raglan, and it's very simple in its construction otherwise, so you could adjust it depending on your body. And I personally really like the fit of this currently on my body, so although it is recommended to go from a -1 to a +1 inch ease, I think that I might make my next one also with a little bit more positive ease, or I might make it to the pattern, who knows. But I am really happy with the finished garment, and I really love the overall fit, especially of the arms. I think this is a really nice raglan where it has a really good armhole depth, where it isn't too long, and so there isn't too much fabric here, but at the same time the sleeves aren't constricting, and I'm really happy with how that fits as well. If you are looking for a plain stockinette sweater that has just a little bit of interest at the end, I would definitely recommend this pattern. I really love how it fits, and her Melody Hoffman's instructions on how to do the hem is super clear. I think also if you have some unspun yarn and you are unsure of what to do with it, then this is a really great sweater that's specifically written for unspun yarn, so I would look into it as well. So in this section of what I'm currently wearing, I usually give good reviews of the sweaters, and that's because most of the sweaters that I keep for myself, I keep either for sentimental reasons or because I really enjoy wearing it. And the ones that I don't, I will usually end up donating it, or I will give it to a family member who likes the sweater better. And I found that it's a really good system just to have pieces that I really do enjoy wearing and the ones that don't get as much love just because I put in so much effort into making it. It's usually better off going to another home. So we'll just jump right into what I finished for the week. And I have just finished a plain pair of vanilla socks. And this yarn was kindly gifted to me by Betsy from Maker's Night. And Maker's Night, if you don't know, is an in-person event hosted every week by Tea Cozy Yarn Shop and Rough and Tumble Pub at Rough and Tumble Pub in Ballard every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. And so if you are in the area, I encourage you to come join us. This pair of socks, the yarn, all of the yarn here was gifted by Betsy except for the cuffs. The cuffs were ones that I had before. And this is Paintbox Yarns in Winter Flowers. And the rest of the yarn is Freckled Whimsy Advent for 2024 called Merry and Bright. This was a really satisfying pair of socks to make because Betsy let me know exactly how many pairs of stripes I needed for my feet, which are US size woman's 8. And Betsy also has the same size feet, so she was able to let me know how many she used, and I followed exactly her instructions, as well as how many I would have for the legs in that case. And so I followed her instructions exactly, and I came out with a pair of socks that fit my feet perfectly. And this was also super satisfying in that this is all I have of the yarn left. It is the smallest bit, and I am so happy I was able to use basically all of the yarn. I think I have around 5 grams left of the contrast color, and I'm just really happy, pleased with the results. I think this makes for a really fun pair of socks, especially in clear rain boots like the ones I have, or even when I wear it with regular shoes. I think just the rainbow peeking out makes for a very fun pair of socks. I'm so happy with how it knit up too. The stripes are so satisfying to watch knit up, but also the transitions in the stripes, it's really nice. There isn't any of the white spots or any dark spots in where the colors transition to each other. And I am so happy with how it turned out. I think that Freckled Whimsy does a great job in dyeing this, and I am definitely interested in getting a self-striping socks advent from her this year if she does do it. And so I have definitely become a fan. Also, the yarn does feel really smooth, like I said last time when I mentioned these socks, and I'm really happy to have this completed. So the way the stripes knit up, and for the size of my feet, none of the colors overlap except for the yellow that's up here and right before the toes. And so I'm so happy that I got to see all of the colors play out. And thank you again so much, Betsy. I am so pleased with how these socks have turned out, and I will definitely be getting some use out of these. The next object I have to show you is a test knit that I completed. This is Ning Beanie by Skinny Dippin', which is who is Alex. And this is a really cool pattern. It's a hat pattern, but it's done top down. I knit an adult large on the recommended needle size, which is a 4.5 millimeter needle, which is a US 7. This is a worsted weight beanie pattern, and so I held 2 yarns together. I held Explorer Knits Earthy DK alongside Lana Grossa Sedasuri and Cocky. The Explorer Knits yarn is a one-of-a-kind yarn, and so I'm not sure of the colorway, but it's this really nice dark gray olive color. It's definitely more green. It's just a very cool green color that's quite dark, and the Sedasuri is also a Cocky color but was lighter in tone than the actual yarn. So I'm quite happy with how it turned out in terms of the marling. There isn't any obvious marling. It's more of a heather tone than I would say completely marled, but you can see some of that Sedasuri. And I have to say the Lana Grossa Sedasuri was so nice to work with. It's super soft. I think I like it definitely better than mohair. The alpaca silk is definitely more soft than any silk mohair that I've tried, and I think that this would be really nice to keep your head warm. The only thing is this pattern does run a little large, and so I made the adult large, and it's large even on my head, and I have quite a big head. So I'm going to take this also to Korea to give to my dad, and hopefully it'll fit him a little better. But it is quite a large beanie, even though I did get gauge. I did let Alex know that it did turn out quite large on me, but we'll see if she does change it. And if she doesn't, then I think an adult medium then would be a better fit for most people. And I also did the tally and bind off for the ribbing, and so it is a little more invisible, although it is a 2x2 rib. It was okay. It's more fiddly than I think the 1x1, and the 1x1 definitely looks better in my opinion, but the 2x2 came out fine. I really enjoy how this hat is a 5-point hat, and so you have 15 cables in total. The cable repeats are quite long in terms of there are many rows in between, and also you only cable 5 times per round when you do cables, so it isn't a hard cabling pattern. But I do really like how it's an uneven number. I think that that's more uncommon in beanies. Usually you have either 4 points and it creates that really nice crown decrease, or most of the times it's either 2 or 4. It's an even number most of the times. And with this being 5, I feel like the cables fall really nicely on the head, where you have either 1 at the top or 1 at the back of the head and 2 at the top like this. And I really liked how it's shaped and how the cables fall. I think it's not as common as you'd see in other patterns. The top part wasn't too fiddly, although it is cast with top down, and I just did a magic loop and I cast it with like a crochet magic loop and then pulled it tight and weaved in the ends. Alex does have really great tutorials linked to all her patterns, and as I said before, I really do enjoy the way she writes her patterns. And so I think that if you are looking for a beanie pattern, you like cabling, or you like the look of cabling, but you don't necessarily like cabling, I would keep an eye out for this pattern, because I think this definitely fits that criteria. So this hat has 87 grams of the Explorer knits and 100% of the accessory, so 25 grams of that. And I'm really happy that with it being knit top down, I could use every last bit of the accessory. So I did run out of the accessory when I was doing the sewn Italian bind off, and I ran out I think with 8 stitches to go, and so I just bound off in the Explorer Knits DK, and you wouldn't be able to tell. I think it's really hard even to tell where the beginning of round is in this pattern, and so I'm just excited to give this to my dad, and I hope that it'll fit his head better than it does mine. That's all I finished for this week, and I'm so happy that I was able to do another test knit for Alex, as well as finish a pair of socks. And next we'll move into what I'm currently working on. So I'm working on another pair of socks now, and this pair of socks is knit with West Yorkshire Spinner Signature 4-ply in 1000 Rouge, as well as Christmas Robin. And this will just be another pair of vanilla socks. The only thing is, I think I might do a shadow wrap heel in this rather than a heel flap. And this is a pair of matching socks that I'm currently knitting with Stella of @MilkEnthusiast on Instagram, and we said that we'd have it done by the end of February, and so I'm just working on it now. I'm ready to add in the heels for this, and I've also just cast on for the cuff of my second one, just because I wanted to have it going so that I wouldn't get second sock syndrome, and that's just what I like to do, is to have 2 socks in tandem, even if they're not completely at the same portion. The reason I'm doing a shadow wrap heel, even though the heel flap and gusset is my favorite, is because I don't want to break up this pattern. The pattern with the dots, or the Fair Isle portion of it, as it's supposed to mimic, is only 2 rows. And so with the heel flap and gusset, the gusset being more stitches, it means that the pattern gets broken up a little bit. And so with the shadow wrap heel, you don't have the same thing, just because you don't have that portion of your gusset increased, and it's just the heel portion that's increased. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that it will suit this sock better. I don't think that, I mean, even if I do a heel flap and gusset, I don't think that it'll completely break up the pattern. I'll have at least 1 row, but I just wanted to keep the 2 rows just because. And so I'm ready now to do the shadow wrap, and so before I do that, with these long cables, I decided to start the cuff, and then I'll move the cuff onto another pair of 9-inch circulars. I have 3 9-inch circular needles, but only one of these fixed circulars, and although I could put it on one of the interchangeable cables that I have, I decided not to, and I'll just use these needles so that I don't have needles flying everywhere. Overall, I'm really happy with how this pattern is knitting up. I think it's very beautiful. I am really excited that the red is a really good match for the red in the pattern, and so I'm happy that that's what we decided to do for the contrast colors, and I can't wait to see this knit up and also to have matching friends with and to have matching socks with the real life friend. The last time I checked, I know that Stella had a little bit more progress on her sock than I did on mine, and so I'm playing catch up right now. The project, of course, is living in my Snug as a Bear Rose and the Wren bag because I love this bag so much. And speaking of project bags, my next project is living in this project bag, which is Protect Trans Athletes. And this was given to me at Rough and Tumble Pub. They were giving out these bags during Super Bowl when they were showing Super Bowl. And I'm so happy to have this. It's really beautiful, and it houses my next project perfectly. I'm working on another one of my Make 9 objects, which is the Anemone Sweater, and I've gotten a little bit into it, not as far as I would have liked, but it is a little more fiddly just because there's so much yarn hanging out of it. It does look kind of scrunched up, but this will all block out. My floats are quite long. This is the Anemone Sweater by Pernille Larsen, and I am knitting this with the recommended needle size, which is a 4mm needle. For the ribbing, I used the 3.5mm needle, which is a US 4, and the 4mm needle is a US 6. This is what it currently looks like. I have done the brown flowers, I am doing blue flowers, and then I'll do red as well as pink. And so I'll have 4 different colors of flowers in this, and this is knit bottom up, and then it's steeked, or you could knit it flat from when you do separate for the sleeves, the front and the back. I think I'm leaning towards just steeking it because I think it's easier to do color work in the round. And there is one row where you have to do 3 color work, and I'm not inclined to do that flat, and so I think I'm just going to end up steeking it. But I do I am enjoying the process of knitting it. The reason I say this is quite fiddly is because it is held with merino as well as soft silk mohair held together. I'm using alpaca 2, an Isayer alpaca 2, so not knitting for olive, as well as the soft silk mohair, and I'll have the colors that I'm using or I'll be using posted up just because there are so many to list. But that means that I have 6 strands hanging off of my projects at all times, and with me knitting in the round, it does kind of get in the way. I didn't cut my green strand just because I just wanted to carry up from when I do finish the flowers or the stems. It isn't a large carry up portion. If you see this section here, it only has to carry up a few rows, and so I think it's fine, but I would rather carry it up than have to weave in the ends later, just because I'm afraid that when you weave in the ends, that'll show on the other side. I also didn't catch any of my floats for this just because I was looking at other people's projects, and the people that did catch their floats, it still looks beautiful, but you can kind of see where they caught their floats just because it is on a white or a whiter background. I am using Knitting for Olive Wheat, which was the color that was recommended to me on the Knitting for Olive website. So it isn't completely light or white, but I am really enjoying it. It does give more of a vintagey vibe. And the way I am somewhat managing my colors is just by having them in little Ziploc bags. I might have to get a slightly bigger Ziploc bags. They're quite squished in here, but I am pulling from the middle just so that they don't roll around everywhere, or I'm trying to for the ones I can, and then just putting them in little Ziploc bags. So when I move it, I can move it as a team and they don't kind of roll everywhere. Overall, I'm super happy with how this is currently knitting up, and I can't wait to show you more progress on it when I show you it again next week. So this week I have a really exciting acquisition that I love to share, and this was a gift given to me by my husband for Valentine's Day. This is the redesigned project bag. This is project 10, which I think it's a larger version. It's in walnut and gold. I think gold is for the hardware, and it smells very much like leather. I know it'll get scratched up, so this is probably as pristine as it's going to be, which is completely fine. And the beauty of this bag is that it's like a doctor's bag, so when you open it, it lays completely flat. It does come with a zippered pocket as well as an elasticized compartment where you can stick your needles in, and also some elasticized pockets as well on the end. So I did ask my husband specifically for this bag. I saw that Tea Cozy Yarn Shop had just gotten them in. I messaged Emily to ask if she had any in stock or to hold one for me if she could, and so then I sent my husband, and so he got exactly what I asked for, but he also brought home some yarn, which is really exciting. And he brought home a project quantity, so 5 skeins of Kelborn Woolen Scout, and this is in Navy Heather. So I have Scout in Charcoal Heather already, which I'm really excited to use, and that's a part of my Make 9, but now I also have Navy Heather, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be making with this yarn, but I am really looking forward to using this. So currently I am working with Kelborn Woolen's Mojave, like I mentioned last week, and I'm really liking that. So I think that overall Kelborn Woolen's is a great brand, and I'm really excited to use this one as well. It's a navy heather, but I do see flecks of purple in it, so that's really interesting, and I am just really happy with this project bag as well as just this whole Valentine's Day gift. For this Valentine's Day, I told my husband that we don't need to go out for a nice dinner, you know, we'll save money that way, but I would really like this project bag, and so that's what he got me, and I'm very grateful. In terms of acquisitions, that's it. I'm very grateful that my husband was able to get this for me. I think Emily helped him choose the color or the yarn, so I'm really grateful for that as well, to have friends around me who I'm able to be influenced by, who I share interests with. And I'm also really happy that we have this community where we can talk about just our makes. Next week, I'll definitely have some more progress on the anemone sweater as well as my socks. Because the socks are knit with as a make along with a friend, it definitely keeps me more accountable, and so I'll have some more progress and hopefully be finished, but I cannot promise anything. I just know I don't want to leave it until last minute. That's all for this week. I hope everybody had a really great Valentine's Day, and even if you don't celebrate Valentine's Day, I hope you had a really great day and a really great week filled with what you enjoy doing, and I will see you in the next video next week. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you are able to, and thank you again so much for watching.